So I went on a journey. I probably emailed BJ at the time. BJ's in his one of his former lives. You were the Dean of Arts or something. You were in the College of the Arts.
Yes.
So this guy's an amazing guy. You want to get to know him. So I think I connected with BJ. I connected with Julie Spence. I connected with different ones saying, I need help. And people said, I can't help you, but talk to this person. They can't help me, but talk to another, talk to another, talk to another. Eventually, I made it through to Bruce Kuhn, who I was emailing. I said, Bruce, I hear you dramatize the Bible for a living. Are you running any seminars? I'd like to take a seminar. I'll fly anywhere on the mainland, the U.S. mainland. When's your next seminar? He says, I'm not running any more this year, but why don't you come to my home? And I was like, where do you live? And the reply came, the Netherlands, Holland. Just around the corner from Hawaii, right? Right there in the neighborhood. But God was working in the midst of it all. He organized that Bruce had 3 days available, and those were only 3 days that I had available in a tour that I was doing around Europe, Germany, the Netherlands, different parts. And so, again, my wife was on outreach somewhere. By the way, my wife will be going on outreach this quarter as well, so she'll be heading out to somewhere with her at school. They don't know that yet, so I don't want to preempt the process with them. So you go to them, no, hey, you guys know. So it's like, what? All right, so then I've got the kids. I fly with them to Europe. I borrow a bright orange VW van from the 1970s, real old thing, and are like sort of cutting our way through Northern Europe. I'm totally jet lagged, and then the thought hits me: what am I doing? I've got no idea about who this guy Bruce Kuhn was, and I'm going to be living with them, and I got my young kids, and I got my niece. And it's like, and we're driving into the middle of nowhere, driving. Bruce lives in one of the most isolated parts of Holland. It's just in the middle of like a potato patch. They just grow potatoes there, like kilometers of potatoes. And his home is right in the middle of this, with one or two other little homes around it. He really lives in the middle of nowhere. So it's getting dark. It's cold, a little bit windy. And I get out and knock on this cottage in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, I hope I've got the right house. And Bruce Kuhn opens the door. Hello! A lot of energy coming from within that door frame. And I was like, wow, this guy is really engaged, But, I thought, wow, okay, so it's going to sort of taper down a little bit. But no. That's who he is. He is just really excited about everything, And you'll get to know him. He is a great, great guy. I love Bruce. So we had 3 days where it was just wonderful fellowship around the Word. And then it was my turn to blow him away because I had memorized and then tried to dramatize it. The drama was kind of like, whoa, way out of it. So whenever I was doing the Bible, it was like so awesome, right? And it was like, whoa, that's like way too much energy, So I had to learn to be me, right? I had to learn to relax and be okay with that. And that's the thing. We don't memorize words and then dramatize them. It's this process of learning by heart, where we really understand by my heart the way I feel, the way I think, the way I process information, who Jesus is in the Gospel of Matthew for this quarter. And as you connect with that, then you can share it just the way it happens. It's like, it doesn't have to be this like, wow, right? So I blew him away. And he's like, whoa, sit down, Let's just talk this through now. But it was a wonderful day. I just love the Bible. This next 3 months are going to be so awesome. Just going to feast on the Bible. Just enjoy it. It's going to be so great. I can't believe we can do this as a second level school. Because it's just so much fun, right? It's amazing. And so anyway, that was when I connected with Bruce. Now, Bruce had been doing this work for 20 years. So he had really distilled the principles and the thinking and all of that. And to cut a long story short, I then, a year and a half later, invited Bruce to come out of here in the middle of 2012. He came out into Gospel of Luke at the Ohana Court. And I canceled all the worship. It was like we just were going to have the Bible in this Thursday night meeting. And then I learned like a week or two before he came that he worked in the King James Version of the Bible. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is never going to work. Anyway, Bruce is amazing. It was incredible. And I knew that night that a ministry had been born in the Spirit. You know, when something happens in the Spirit, it's just like, it's there. And then it was wonderful. Bruce and I worked really well together. I'm sort of the YWAM leader guy that is kind of gives the leadership for Word by Heart. Bruce is the one who has the teaching and the heart and the professionalism and the basic thinking that undergirds what Word by Heart is. So in working together, we did the first school in 2013. We did 2 schools in 2014. Last year we ran 8 schools in 6 countries. And this year, we're working on running 23 schools in 18 locations. So, so God is at work and He's doing amazing things. So that gives you a little bit of the story about who we are and about what we are all about. What are we about? Number 1, we're about getting stoked on Jesus. Right? That's our ambition and our goal and our aim. And to learn the Gospel of Mark in our hearts. Matthew. That we learn this gospel and we learn Jesus through this gospel. That we're surprised that He becomes real to us. That's what we're about. And that we can share it with others in a way that they sit back and go, wow, this is who Jesus is. I never knew. Bruce spent much of his some of his years with, I believe it was Campus Crusade. Go through the universities on the mainland, and he'd do a show, right? And he'd often do a seminar as like a teaser for the show at night. He'd connect and then invite people to come. And at the end of it, a woman came up to him and introduced herself as gave her name, and then said that she was the president of the gay and lesbian club at that university. And she said to Bruce, I don't normally go to Christian events because Christians are so judgmental. But I like you. I'll come to your show tonight. And so Bruce was like, well, sorry, and thanks. So she came. At the end of it, she came bounding up to Bruce and said, Bruce, Jesus is great. Right? We want to be able to share the Gospel of Matthew like that. That we know Him in our heart. And we don't just know of Him. We know Him as Son of God, all that stuff. We worship Him. We can preach or do all the theology. But do we really know Him? Right? So that we would know Him and would be able to share Him where people, Christian or non-Christian, would be able to say with that lady at that university, wow, I never knew. Jesus is great. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, staff, we have to wash dishes and